And then the wedge driving began. You're in our will. The kids will inherit this. If Josh gets sober, we'll take everyone to Disneyland. One day I snapped. I wrote them a letter. Some people don't love you. They engineer you. Josh finally returned to the country. Pastor Rob met him at the airport the moment he came through arrivals, confronting him about what he had put our family through. I was staying at my brother's house when I got the call. I asked Pastor the question every woman eventually asks. Was there another woman? Pastor said Josh admitted to another woman, but only flirting was involved. Nothing more. Hard to believe, but without proof, I buried it and focused on the next step forward. Josh went back to our home. The kids and I stayed with my brother. We began counselling with Pastor Rob. He gave us communication notes, worksheets, exercises, tools to rebuild something that was already buckling. I did the work. I sat with the hard truths. I faced my bitterness. I showed up. Josh didn't. Not one worksheet. Not one change. Not even simple commitments like calling the kids when he promised. After 4 weeks of that, something inside me snapped. I decided I was done. On the way to church that Sunday, I rehearsed the words, Pastor, I am divorcing him. I planned to say it right after service. But God, he stopped me. He had other plans. Pastor Rob preached on love and humility, the kind that held Jesus on the cross, the kind that laid down rights, not because the other person deserved it, but because love can choose sacrifice. I had never seen humility described as strength before. I had never seen something so deep. I had never seen that side of Jesus before. Christ left heaven, the glory, the loyalty, the worship, and didn't fight for what was rightfully his. Why? Love. Love. Sitting there, I felt God ask, will you humble yourself in this season, even if he doesn't change? Not to excuse him, not to erase the pain, but because God wanted to work something inside me. I asked myself, do I love Josh? And have I loved him regardless of what he gave me back? So I went home to my mother and family and told them I was going back to Josh because I felt like God was going to teach me a lot. And most of them understood. My mother worried, but I told her, God will look after me. And I truly believed it. I'm not saying that I would give this advice to everybody. Every marriage is different, okay? And this was just a season in my life where I felt like God was speaking to me about this. Back home, I practiced humility, and yes, God used it. I grew in patience, gentleness, clarity. There were so many blessings. But while God worked on me, Josh grew darker. He lost weight. He started using drugs, and his aggression escalated. Police were called about 2 times because his behavior turned physically intimidating. And yeah, he did push the envelope on physical abuse. And the tipping point came when I found myself sleeping almost the whole day to recover from a night. He wouldn't let me sleep. It was a couple nights actually, just pacing, ranting, provoking, almost as if he needed me upset to calm something in himself. Pastor Rob urged me to leave for safety. I said God will take care of me. But when my exhaustion began affecting my children, when they started carrying the weight of nights they never saw, I finally said no more. The kids needed one functioning parent. So I separated from Josh until he got help. Not out of abandonment, but out of protection. The next 5 years blurred into rehab centres, relapses, prison, a couple more separations. I held on, hoping for change, believing some small ember of love might spark in him. When he went to prison for 9 months, he called almost daily. The kids and I visited him most Sundays. He attended Bible studies inside. He sounded like someone who had turned a corner. And when he was released, it was lovely. One day the police knocked at 3 a.m. Josh had been found attacked in another city, jaw broken, foot shattered. The kids and I cried seeing him in the hospital. But something in the way he smiled seeing us upset unsettled me. And I thought this was rock bottom for him. It wasn't. His parents swooped in again, employing him, paying him under the table, shielding him from the consequences. They ignored my concerns about him working in the same small town he'd been attacked in, and predictably the drinking returned. They ignored my concerns and employed him anyway. And I just started to distance myself from them. Hope felt hollow. His mother kept pushing the fantasy of a restored marriage. "One day Josh will appreciate your faithfulness," she'd say. But her interference made healing impossible. I stopped smoothing over their enabling, and they acted confused as if innocence were their native language. And then the wedge driving began. "You're in our will. The kids will inherit this. If Josh gets sober, we'll take everyone to Disneyland." One day I snapped. I wrote them a letter. "Stop mentioning your will to the kids. Stop dangling Disneyland. Stop funding Josh's dysfunction. Please. Please stop." Their response? Rage. And a text saying they were changing their will. I didn't care. Not once in my life had I cared about their will. A few weeks later, they booked a family holiday for us. Even though they knew Josh was drinking heavily, I refused. I refused to go, but Josh begged, and I caved. It was a disaster. Josh drank the entire time. The kids and I were stuck inside someone else's fantasy of family time. When we got home, I messaged the in-laws. Never again. That was the worst holiday of our lives. And they said, "Oh, we only wanted you to have a special time." I didn't believe it. During those years, I grew. Spiritually, emotionally, I learned to lean on Jesus. And I learned to take my testimony and my relationship with God more seriously. But I ache thinking back at that time because I reacted a lot. I still reacted. Josh knew exactly how to provoke me. Comments about my weight, my culture. I'm Indian, by the way. My mistakes. Pastor Rob could see the manipulation clearly. I couldn't. I just saw a man who didn't appreciate my faithfulness and only amplified my flaws. I wish I could go back and whisper, "You are being provoked. This isn't your fault. You're not the angry one. You're the targeted one." Only now can I name what I lived inside. I wasn't in a peaceful home. I was standing on a chessboard. None of it was random. It was positioning, provocation with a purpose, triangulation disguised as concern. And when I finally reacted, cried, snapped, broke, that reaction became their proof about me. She's uptight. She's unreasonable. She's the angry one. Meanwhile, the real strategy was moving behind me. Proverbs 26:20 says, "Without wood, a fire goes out. But in my home, there was always fresh wood." New lies, new pressure, new manipulation. I thought I was failing as a wife, as a mother, as a Christian, but this is the truth. You can be the queen on the board, but if you're constantly distracted by fires in the corner, you'll miss the trap forming on the other side. This is what Jesus meant by be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Not paranoid, not fearful, not suspicious, wise, clear-eyed, steady-hearted, not easily moved by someone else's script. Here's the whisper I'd send back to my younger self. You're not unstable. You're being cornered. You're not angry. You're being provoked. You're not the problem. You're the target. And you still have a God who makes firm your steps, even when the ground feels rigged beneath you. This is the lesson of this chapter. A provoked reaction does not define your character. A manipulated narrative does not define your identity. Triangulation only works when you don't know you're on a board. The moment you see the board, everything changes. It took me another year to figure that one out, which I guess I will cover in the next episode, or maybe the next episode. When you stop letting people move you, you stop trying to win their game, and you begin living by truth, by clarity, and godly wisdom instead. That is where your strength begins. That is where the fog lifts. That is where you become the woman God intended, not a pawn in someone else's play, but a daughter of the king who sees the whole board. Have you ever realized someone was shaping your reactions on purpose? What moment made you finally see it? For me, I'd stay another year before I truly recognized the game. And that's all right. I don't regret staying faithful to what was right and loving. I only wish I'd known sooner, so I could have guarded my heart with more wisdom and less fear and pain. I'm Gigi. If you are in a high conflict relationship and searching for clarity, courage, or simply a voice that understands, I'm glad you're here. Come with me next episode as we sift through the ashes and watch where God brings life back.